This is Miss Lizzie, and I want to welcome you to the Queen Lizzie podcast. Together, we will go through the history of Rosewood, Florida, and watch as the once prosperous town rises out of the bloodshed, fire, and ash to reveal the people, the memory, and the legacy of Rosewood. Watch every Thursday on Facebook and YouTube, or listen to our story on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, or wherever you find your favorite podcasts. Hello, everybody. I am Lizzie Robinson Jenkins, representing not only the Rosewood Foundation, but the personal testimonies and history of cherished friends and family. You are now watching the Queen Lizzie podcast. Today, we're talking with Stephanie Birch from the Yukon Library. Welcome, Stephanie, to Queen Lizzie podcast. I am honored to have you on my show.
Thanks for having me.
And Stephanie is here from Connecticut, all the way from Connecticut, just to be on this podcast.
Yep.
Okay, and I have been knowing her since 2018, 19.
Yep.
Yes, and we became friends because when we met, for some reason, it just felt like God put her in my life. And we were at a meeting, I believe, and Rosewood came up.
Yeah. The Alachua County African American History Task Force, I think it was, that was working with the school district
Yes.
to support Black education in the local schools, which is still very much an important issue in Florida.
It is very important, yes. And for some reason, we connected. And here we are 4 years later, and we are still talking about African American history, Rosewood history, and other histories and massacres. And it's our goal, hopefully, to make a difference. I know one thing, we are standing together, as you say, in solidarity to make sure we keep this history alive for the next generation.
Yep.
And I'm glad to have you as a friend, co-worker, board member. Stephanie is a board member. And we are looking forward to doing better things, more things. And as we speak on tomorrow, we are on our way to
Asala.
Asala.
Yeah.
Asala, and in Jacksonville, it's the 108th, I believe, conference.
Yep.
For a week. And if you are interested, anyone is welcome to the workshops.
Yeah, and I think there are virtual sessions as well. If you are not in the Florida or Jacksonville area, you can still participate.
Right, and the address is asala.com. Am I right? Okay, well, we know www.asala.com. Join us, and you will be able to pull up the agenda schedule for everything.
Yep.
And everyone is welcome. And I am just so grateful to be able to participate live. And hopefully we'll learn more. But last week we had the opportunity the privilege to interview the national president, Dr.
Marvin Delaney, I believe.
Yes.
Yep. Hopefully I said his name right.
Yes.
I got his name right.
Yes, and they are headquartered in
Washington, yeah.
Washington, D.C., and they are coming down. They are excited. We are excited because there are so many historians coming to Jacksonville. It's going to be an honor. So many workshops that's going to be going on simultaneously, but we will not be able to attend all of them, but we will be able to attend some of them.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And it's an important year for you, I think,
Yes, yes, it is.
in the foundation. It's 100-year remembrance for Rosewood, and for you, especially all the hard work that you have done these past, 30 some years,
Yes,
and to receive that acknowledgement and to continue to garner support from such really influential people nationally that will be there to make those connections and to continue to spread the message, and to continue to get support for all the work that the foundation is seeking to do in establishing, a museum,
yes.
that having that national support will be really instrumental. And so having this opportunity to meet all these people is really, really important and special, I think.
It is. I agree with you, and I'm excited, and I know you know I'm excited, and I'm just looking forward to it. And I was reading the agenda. I see where one of the days we're going to return to St. Augustine. St. Augustine, that's where I went to college. And I did bring my T-shirt that says Florida Memorial College. I will be there on the bus, or if we have to drive or walk, we will be there. We are going to go to our St. Augustine and relive the history that I lived physically in 1960. I don't know how many years ago that was, but I was a student there. I was a junior/senior that year, and it was really bad. And by the way, the theme, what is the theme for the Asala?
Black resistance.
Black resistance. I was there and I resisted, and I was black in 1960. So I think the theme is just perfect.
Yeah.
Black resistance. Oh my God. And I am also bringing to the conference tomorrow a walking can that my grandfather carved in 19, I don't remember, 13, I believe. And it's a black resistant walking can. Why is it a resistant walking can? Because, as I said, he carved it, and in the middle of it is a sword, and that sword was meant that they fought back. They resisted.
Mm-hmm.
And I would be able to show the walking cane, but not the sword. I can't open it. And I remember it is like cemented or glued together. And one day I was trying to open. I wanted to see. I said, "Mom, what's in here?" She said, "Oh, that's a sword, babe." And I said, "Well, I can't open it. Why?" She said, "Well, probably dried blood." Dried blood. Here I am, a little girl. Is this woman crazy? My mother told me everything. And I said, "Why dried blood?" I said, "Mama, Papa ever killed anyone?" And her answer was, without hesitation, heroes do what they have to do when they have to do it. I had no idea what that meant until I got older and she told me, well, they resisted, they fought back, and that was their way of survival. So I'm excited about the Black resistance. I resisted at the lunch counter, and I'm excited. I'm excited. I'm excited. And Rosewood has been on my plate since I was 5. My mom first told me the story at age 5, and every time I am on this podcast, I try to remember to let people know that Rosewood is really who I am. It's a story that I have lived with. It's a story that I have planned, uh, not really planned, but I have lived it. And I just remember so much. I remember my aunt, who was a school teacher in Rosewood in 1923. I remember her teaching me when I was 4 and 5 years of age, and she was a seamstress, and I would sit there and she would teach me, my first homeschool teacher, and talk to me. And one night my mom decided to tell us the story about her sister and said, "Y'all sit down on the settee. Mama's going to tell you a story about Rosewood Massacre." I had no idea what the word massacre meant, never heard of Rosewood. But she continued to talk, and I knew from her expression, Stephanie, that it was not anything pleasant to talk about. And when she said roses, rosewood, roses in the wood came to my mind because I didn't know, but she told us the story. For some reason, I'm telling her story. It attached itself to me. I'm still telling it to people like you so that we can tell it to our children's, and just keep the history out there. Okay? And thank you for being a part of it.
Yeah.
Yes. And we're going to continue. We're going to continue to tell the story. It cannot be allowed not to be known. Okay, that's about time for our first half. We are going to head to a quick break and we'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Attention all Gator fans, Meldon Law is giving away a chance to experience the Florida-Georgia game like never before. 2-night stay at the Hilton on the River, dinner at Ruth Chris Steakhouse, 2 premium tickets to the game, and a football signed by Coach Billy Napier, and much more. Go to the Meldon Law Facebook page and look for the VIP experience for 2. Good luck and go Gators!
I am Black History.
I am Rosewood Black History. I am Florida and America's Black History, and you are too.
January 1st, 1923, the KKK insurrectionists attacked Rosewood, killing 5, burning it down.
Because a white woman lied and cried, a black man assaulted me. Rosewood redevelopment is on its way.
Want to help? Visit rosewoodflorida.com.
Welcome back to Queen Lizzie Podcast, brought to you weekly from the Steve Spurrier Podcast Room at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. We are here with Stephanie Birch. The Queen Lizzie Podcast is brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union, live from the Meldon Law Gator Studios at Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. Special thanks to Greg Bradley, Allstate Insurance. We are back, Stephanie. And I think you wanted to say something, or?
Oh, yeah. So last week when I was on, we were talking with Dr. Delaney. One of the things that I had mentioned and that you and I have talked about before is thinking about and looking at Rosewood, the history and the legacy of Rosewood through this lens of resistance. And so the conference is all the more such a great timing. Not only is it the 100-year remembrance, not only is it in Florida at this really interesting time politically that we're experiencing, but also because when I think of Rosewood, especially from the perspectives that you have shared with me through all of the stories that I have heard, I think of all of the examples in which Rosewood is this, the examples of resistance. Mm-hmm. You know, so the storytelling that has been passed down from your mother to you when you were 5 years old, when there were not any films, yes, or articles or books written about this history, when people tried to bury it and keep it a secret and were scared to talk about it. Yes. So that storytelling, so that it would live on, that is resistance that you have carried on. And also even the building of Rosewood itself, the town, where people were establishing building or businesses and gaining land and building Black wealth in Jim Crow, Florida, where it was a hostile environment for Black people, and still is in many ways. That is also, building community was also an act of resistance. And so we think of, the fleeing from the violence, and the survival as that act of resistance. But there are so many other ways in which the people of Rosewood also resisted, and the descendants have resisted, including the work that you have done these decades to do research. I remember a story that you told me of going into, I think, the Levy County archives.
Yes.
Where you, I think, maybe even gave them a false name.
Yes, I did.
And then
Absolutely.
some men came in with these big, heavy boots to
Yes.
try to intimidate you
Yes.
because they didn't want you to do this research.
Absolutely.
And the barriers that you have faced in trying to uncover the history of Rosewood when people didn't want you to do this, that is also an act of resistance. And so all throughout the history of the town itself and the legacy thereafter, the violence, we find these acts of resistance. And you're a part of this living legacy. And so it is so important, I think, for Rosewood to be a part of this ASALH conference.
Exactly. And you are really, you're right on it. You are right on it, because I hadn't thought about the resistance that you just shared with me, my research and going into the basement of the Brunson County courthouse. And the guys did come in to intimidate me. They did. Oh my God, my heart dropped. However, Stephanie, I won the battle, because when they encircled my table, they scared me. I didn't look up. They would have seen the fear in my eyes had I made eye contact with them. I kept my head down and I continued to work. And they left because I felt like I was the winner. But I was so scared. Not afraid, scared. Got out of there, went home, told my mom. And of course, as you said, we didn't have our televisions, our recorders, and nothing back then, but oral history.
Yeah.
That's where what we have done all of our lives, and I'm still doing it today. But my mom was so confident in me. She said, "Baby, just sit down and relax, and in a few days, go back and finish my job." I wanted to say to her, "You finish your job. I'm not going back." I was afraid, and I was angry. I was angry with my mom because I thought it was absolutely too much stress and too much pressure. But her expectation was really, really high. She wanted me to tell her sister's sad story, ugly story, all because of, like you said, Jim Crow. And this is a perfect timing for us to attend this ASALH meeting. Mm-hmm. And when you called me and said, "Liz, I think I'm going to be able to come down," I said, "Come on down." And we have been talking, and we are excited, and we're going to do a lot and meet a lot of people.
Yep.
I'm honored. I'm honored that you're here, and I know we're going to meet some international and national historian. We're waiting for Rosewood, because Rosewood is it. And as if you all don't know, the house has been donated. The Rosewood house has been donated to us, and as we speak, we are going to move the house to Archer. And there, as we speak, we're having our mapping and surveying is going on this property today, mm-hmm. and it has been for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And we, couple of not years, 6 or 7 months ago, we were eligible to receive a grant for $480,000. Don't have a problem telling you how much the grant was for, and that is for the clearing of the property and the beginning, I guess, building. Not guess, but we're going to start building. We're going to spend that money once we can show, that we are using the money wisely. We know that we will be eligible for more grants.
Yeah.
So we are excited.
Well, and the significance of this house, and I think that's something to talk about. And I'm sure a lot of people who listen to your podcast are aware of the house that you're talking
Yes.
about. And for those who may not be aware, it's the John Wright House. It's the last standing structure of Rosewood that remains of the town of Rosewood. And so saving this house in any way possible is an act of resistance as well, an act of preserving kind of the final physical, tangible memories of the town of Rosewood, where we have the known victims who were murdered. We have no photographic evidence, right, of these.
No.
We can only imagine what they looked like.
Exactly.
We have, the film representations from the John Singleton film, but those things are lost to us. But we have this house, but also the house, for a number of reasons, can't stay where it's at. The land that was once owned by this flourishing Black community had liens put on it.
Yes.
It was bought up.
Yes.
And the structures, anything that was survived, any physical materials that may have survived was long gone years ago.
Exactly.
So the house is significant to the history, and any preservation that can be done with that is really significant. And so participating or supporting the preservation of that is also supporting an act of resistance to not letting this memory and this history be erased by people who so passionately tried to erase it and erase the people, quite literally.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And that house was donated to us by a young couple, Ian and Hannah Stone. And they live on the property now.
Yeah.
But in the event, and they have given us the house, but they may be interested in selling us the property.
Yeah.
Okay. However, I will be attending one of the meetings in Jacksonville at the Asala conference about, what's the name of it? Historical landmarks, federal historical landmarks. That's why this meeting is so important, to make connection with all of the right people.
Yep.
And together, if it takes all of us and all of these organizations working together, we are going to do what is in the best interest for Rosewood history preservation, that kind of thing. Okay, because I tell people Rosewood is not about me. It's about saving history. That's what it is about. What else do we need to talk about? We are, like I said, we are looking forward to our meeting tomorrow. And by the way, I have written a book, and you can find that book at www.rosewoodflorida.com. And in that book, on page 42, I believe, there is a page, 2 pages in that book. It does not say resistance, but I resisted an act that the sharecropper, when my dad was working in the fields, I would always say, Dad, can I go with you? And one day he said to me, you may go with me, but you got to lay low. I didn't know what that meant. He meant for me to lay down or lie down in the seat so the sharecropper, his boss, could not see me, because he always used profanity. Okay, and my dad just stood there and took it and said nothing. But this particular day, I rose to the occasion and, yes, resisted his comments. That is in that book. So I am so glad to share that book, a page of Black resistance, by me. I had no idea I was going to be attending this conference wherein the theme is Black resistance. It's in my book, and I'm bringing a walking cane. And if I want to take my teeth out, I can also let them know that was Black resistance at the lunch counter. So I am ready for this conference. Look out, y'all. It's going to be one of the best. And I appreciate, Stephanie, you have been really, really good. I mean, you are really good. I play on your words and you play on mine. I mostly play on yours. When I say play on, you understand and can sense things that are very sensitive to me that I can't say as well as you. I appreciate that. Much needed. Okay, and we are friends forever. Thank you very much. Okay, I am continuously humbled, honored, and blessed to meet people daily and invite them to join in peace building, healing, and reconciliation through learning about the history of Rosewood. That will wrap up today's episode. I am Queen Lizzie. Until next time, this is my Rosewood story, and I'm sticking to it. Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.